What's it say?
Well, it says, I love it when a plan comes together.
Creating videos, it can be like time consuming, it can be complicated, and there can be many things putting you off doing it. But today I wanted to share how I plan some of my videos, at least, in the hope that it can help you make better content, come up with more ideas, and just make that whole process of creating videos hopefully that little bit easier. So the first one is just simply starting with an idea. So that can be things that you're interested in, things you enjoy. From a business standpoint, maybe it can be some of your products, sharing stories from the people who work with you. It could be anything in between, but it just starts with that idea. And then one method I've used that's helped me create more ideas, make it easier just to come up with lists and lists of ideas so that you're not constantly thinking, oh, what can I do next? What should this video be about? Is creating content categories. So I have about 3 or 4, but ultimately what this is just think of like specific areas that you're interested in. That could be either from your own experience, things you enjoy. So for myself, that's looking into editing, video content, storytelling, and a little bit of like writing and stuff. So I have those areas, and then you can just look down for like subcategories within those sections. So for example, if you had video editing as a category, you could look at different software, guides on how to actually edit a video, and then you can just go deeper into like different tools that you need to use, and then from there you can already create a list of different content, as well as just researching into in those topics what other people talk about. Is there something I can do differently? Is there something that maybe they've missed I personally looked for and I couldn't find, and I can share my ideas on that. So just having those couple of different categories, and again this can change over time, can really help you just come up with more and more ideas. So the next big one's more about understanding like why are you creating this video? Why are you creating videos? And I think understanding that just helps push it forward. So for me, it's something that I enjoy. I want to get better at both editing and producing videos, and I just want to produce better content. So it's just something that I love doing. And again, your why can change over time, but to distill this, I try to, when I'm planning either like a simple or medium-sized video, and even some of the larger projects, I like to start with this, asking 3 main questions. So firstly, what value will this video bring? So ultimately, what's your audience going to get out of it? What's like the main aim? Are you trying to like entertain someone? Are you trying to share insight and knowledge? If so, what is that? And are you actually achieving that in your video? And again, it ties back to everything else. So the title of your video, the thumbnail, like what value you're trying to bring. Are you making it clear in that? And are you also then doing it and executing it in the video that you're sharing? The next question is, who's it for? So just understanding who the video is for. That could be anything from, I don't know, if you're making gaming related content, you might be looking at gamers who enjoy playing the Nintendo. So that could be your focus. In a business standpoint, you might have a segment of people you're trying to target, and they are who this video is for. You might have a bigger audience, and then the specific video is just for a smaller segment of that audience. But just understanding who it's for and trying to direct it right at them is great to just understand when you're starting to plan out the video. Next one's sort of similar to the first, but it's more personal. So what do you want to get out of the video? Ultimately, when you're making videos, you should really be enjoying it, really. So what do you want to get out of it? Are you just trying to entertain people? Are you just trying to have some fun? Are you trying to like educate people? Maybe you've learned something and you want to share that knowledge. Again, they're very closely linked to maybe what the audience wants, what value you want them to get out of it. But it's also worth considering what you want to get out of it. Equally, if you're a business or if you're an individual, these can just be goals or things that you want to get out of it. Because ultimately, if you're doing this for a very long time, it does need to be fun. You do need to enjoy it. So asking yourself like what you want from it, I think is essential the whole way through the process. Next section is more just about creating a rough structure of the video. So for this one, I basically used a very simple 3-act structure. So start, middle, end. And I've used that just to build and almost create a rough structure of what the video is going to be. So how's it going to start, and a bit of an introduction, the middle, like what's the main things we're going to cover, and you can usually just jot them down as bullet points or structure it there, and in the end how you want it all to wrap up. Now there's tons of other resources there how you can take apart and learn from different story structures. So maybe your hero's journey, or I believe it's like Freytag's pyramid, but that's more used in films. But topics like that, there's great resources out there. So there's YouTube channels there's tons of great resources out there. So a couple examples I can think of is if you're trying to understand more about the hero journey, and this I've used more in a business context, but I even think for you as an individual, a personal brand, or whatever you're trying to do, it's quite interesting. There's Donald Millard's Building a Story Brand. So great book, structures it out, breaks down each step, tells you how to do it. And if you really want to understand how to create a more compelling narrative and use story structure in your videos, it's a great place to start. There's other great resources out there on YouTube, like channels such as Studio Binder. They do a lot more than just structure, but analysing films, looking at how to structure different stories and different techniques you can use. Another one that's quite similar, but they more look into interviewing people in the industry, so screenwriters, directors, videographers, is Film Courage. And again, I'd highly recommend looking at those two channels, and if you can, picking up Building a Story Brand if story structure is something you want to dive a bit more into. Once you've done that, so the next one's more just optional, so I wouldn't do it in every single video that I would create, but I like to just have it there because it helps you learn, which is basically just researching into videos that you enjoy. So if there's certain videos you like, maybe even films, TV shows, any sort of video content that you enjoy watching, I do believe it's worth, instead of just consuming more and more media, actually sitting down trying to analyse it. Why are you watching it? What are you getting from it? What works well in the video? Like maybe is it how it's framed? Is it the audio? Is it the content you're actually getting from it? Is it useful? Is it interesting? Is it entertaining? Or what did it do wrong? And are there things maybe that you expected as someone watching it to get out of it, but you didn't get it from the video? And then doing this can help you obviously then build and grow your own video content, just learning from others, seeing like maybe how there's consistent things happening across videos, maybe with how they're framed or how they look or how they're styled or how they're structured. You can take that and then apply it to your own stuff and then add your own personal touch. Next little bit, this is more just for YouTube videos specifically. I would look at the thumbnail earlier on. Now, this isn't something I've done at the very start. It's only something I've just started. But historically, I would create the video. So create a basic plan, film it, edit it. And it'd be literally the very last thing I would usually do would be create the thumbnail. But what I think is if you start doing it early in the planning process, it's almost like you're trying to think of, again, it links back to the structure, the title, the idea and everything behind it, just trying to craft that, because ultimately it's almost like your poster, your film trailer. It's like the very first thing people see on YouTube. If they don't click that, they're not even going to watch your video because they're not going to click through to it. So it needs to be engaging, so you need to look at how others have done it, but it needs to be, you don't want to like mislead your audience really. So if you basically made a statement or there's some sort of question or something around what this video is in the thumbnail, you really need to just get into it in the first like 30 seconds or so people know that what they've clicked on is what they've got. Because ultimately, yes, it's great getting that click and getting that initial view, but if people aren't watching your video through, then is it worth it? So I think spending a little bit more time planning your thumbnail, especially if you're creating YouTube videos, in the early planning process is definitely worthwhile. Next, just create a simple list of all the B-roll you need. So just create a few simple bullet points. So that way when I'm filming it, I can then just go back, get all the little bits, keeps it organized, and not then going back, because historically if I'd gone back, started editing it, and went, oh, it'd be great if I added this in, it'd be great if I could have this in, and then you're going back and forth. So that planning does save you a bit of time, so you can just turn around videos a bit quicker. So for this one, I just looked at a few screen captures I could use. So maybe some just B-roll with me working on my laptop, and then that way I was able to plan it in and film it around the same time as actually producing this video. And then to be honest, that's the core structure of the very simple format I use in order to plan the videos. And then obviously comes next is actually the production stage, so going on to film it, edit it, and then publish it. And then after that, just reviewing it and just thinking. And sometimes it can be as simple as writing down, right, well, what can I do better? What can I focus on in the next video? Maybe I'm really not great at doing thumbnails, so I want to try to do that a bit better. Maybe the audio's not great, I want to do that a bit better. Maybe I can play around with the framing and just get a little bit better. Because ultimately, if you're trying to produce stuff and if you're just getting a little bit better with each video, then to be honest, I think then in the long term, you're going to just see huge improvements. You mightn't see it in the moment, but if you're constantly striving just to make it a little bit better each time, you will see a huge improvement. So to be honest, that's a very simplified structure. I don't use it for every single video when I'm planning it, but I use it for quite a lot. And for me, it's just a case of jotting it down. I'll either write it down on paper, jot it down on my computer, and just have that before I jump in and start filming, because it makes me feel at least a bit more confident. And then hopefully I can get across and then produce better content over time. So there are other things for more in-depth videos that I'll look into. Maybe I can do a separate video for maybe more detailed plans I've created where you have a full-on script, and then how you can do that, creating like visual mood boards in order to help create a full-on storyboard. And yes, I'll do more detailed plan videos for bigger projects, or maybe even a series or bigger videos in work. I'll create a bit of a longer plan. So if that is something you want to see, I can dive deeper. And then also if there's specifics in each of those sections that you maybe want to know more about, then I'll look into doing that in the future. But hopefully you found it useful. I'll leave like a rough example templated one in the description below. Now it's nothing pretty, but the idea of it is just to not hinder you when you're creating videos, so you can just quickly jot things down, have at least some form of a structure. And then when I talked about the content categories, I think it's probably the best place to start, because then you can understand, well, what do I want to produce? What do I enjoy? What are maybe things I can share that can help other people? And then by doing that, it's far easier to create ideas instead of sitting down, looking at the camera and going, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in the next video.